Georgia Republican Johnny Isakson will not only break bread with the president, he put together the invite list. The senator who sits on the Finance Committee is our guest now, and it's always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks very much for being here. Why do you think the president reached out to you to help organize this second get-together with Republican senators?
Well, I think over time he'll reach out to the entire conference. I was honored that he called me. I guess maybe he thought I could find 11 other friends to come to dinner, and we were fortunately able to do that.
Is the president an honest broker here, someone you can trust, someone you can make a deal with?
You know, I sold houses for 33 years for a living. I never made a deal without sitting down at the table and working things out. This is a good first step. Maybe we can find some common ground. We've got big problems. We need big solutions.
You will have had a chance to read the president's budget proposal tomorrow by the time you sit down with him at the White House, but reports are already trickling out. We mentioned a couple of the key points in the introduction here. Based on what you've heard so far, what do you like? What do you not like?
Well, I haven't seen the whole document, but what I like is the fact the president appears to be willing to embrace true reform in terms of entitlements, and we'll never get our arms around debt, deficit, and our national debt unless we do that. He's got some taxes and things like that I might have issue about, but he didn't put prerequisites in there. And I think we've got an obligation to sit down tomorrow night across the table, find those areas where we can reach agreement and begin the process over time of solving a big, big problem for our country.
Knowing that you're never going to get the president to go along with everything that you and your Republican colleagues would like him to, do you feel as though you could actually get him to move enough to the point where a deal could be done?
If people want to make a deal's there to be made. Reforming of entitlements, getting our arms around spending, taking a look at the corporate tax code and reforming it. It's possible to be done, and people of goodwill can do it.
If he gets resistance, though, from Republicans, he's going to be able to say to the American people, look, I proposed cuts to entitlement programs. I went ahead and did something that my party is not happy with, that I said I wouldn't do. And then Republicans are going to be left standing there. I'm just wondering how Republicans explain it to the American people that they're not going to go along with a deal offered by the president that proposes cuts to entitlement programs.
Well, you know, a deal portends that you have shared sacrifice, particularly when you have two different philosophies, Republican, Democrat, conservative, and liberal coming together. I think we'll look for a way to find shared sacrifice and make a deal and not point fingers at each other.
It seems, though, that this White House and a lot of Democrats up on the Hill are engaged in a concerted effort to paint members of your party as extremists, whether we're talking about the budget, whether we're talking about gay marriage, whether we're talking about gun control legislation. It's an effort that's being played out in a lot of the mainstream media every single day. Is it working? Do you get the sense that it's working?
America is not a nation of extremists. Both parties will have some extreme folks, but the middle is where we've got to find common ground. Right of center is where America is. That's where I am, and that's where I intend to stay.
And on the issue of guns, since we just heard from my colleague Wendell Goler at the White House talking about this gun control legislation, you are one of those senators who has said that you will not sign on to a filibuster. What would you say to those Republicans who say that they will filibuster any kind of stronger gun control laws?
Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I think there's no ambivalence on Capitol Hill as to the gun position on guns. I think we're obligated to vote, and I intend to vote.
So an up or down vote is what you think should happen?
That's correct. I'm not going to vote for a ban on weapons. I'm not going to vote for a limitation on cartridges. I'll wait and see what they talk about on background checks, but that hadn't even been written yet.
Johnny Isakson, a Republican senator from the state of Georgia, helping to organize the dinner between the president and Republican senators tomorrow night at the White House. Enjoy the dinner. We look forward to hearing what comes from it.
Thank you, Rick.